Marshall Shepard strides through the VIP terminal, his presence parting the crowd like a knife through silk. Armed guards in black suits flank him, their earpieces crackling with security chatter. The syndicate tattoo on his neck, a coiled serpent, catches the harsh airport lights. Marshall's eyes narrow. There, standing by the executive lounge entrance, is a boy in a miniature three-piece suit. The child's posture is unervingly familiar, shoulders back, hands clasped behind him, head tilted at that exact angle Marshall uses when assessing a threat. Marshall stops dead. His guards tense. Gray, adjusting his tie with calculated precision. What are you staring at? Have you never seen your own reflection? Marshall's hand instinctively goes to his neck tattoo. His heartbeat, for the first time in years, spikes. Gray, you're late, Mr. Shepard. I expected better punctuality from the Reaper. The resemblance isn't just striking, it's identical. Same jawline. Same cold, calculating eyes. Same micro-expression of controlled disdain. Marshall, voice low, dangerous. Who are you? Gray, I think you know exactly who I am. Before Marshall can respond, a second child of Darwin steps out from behind a marble column, holding a tablet displaying encrypted financial codes that only Marshall and 3 other people in the world should know. Darwin, quietly, without looking up offshore account. Cayman Islands. Routing number 7734 Shepard. Last transaction, 48 hours ago. $50 million to the Bratva. Marshall's jaw clenches. That information is buried under 7 layers of military-grade encryption. Marshall, impossible. The youngest child, Zella, emerges last. She's clutching a burner phone, and on its screen is a live feed of Marshall's most secure vault, the one beneath his sole penthouse that doesn't officially exist. Zella, her voice sweet but eyes ancient. We're not here for your money, Mr. Shepard. We're here for the debt you owe our mother. Marshall's world tilts. In the shadows near the terminal exit, he sees her. Lisa Cerna. She's standing there, elegant in a camel blazer, her dark hair falling over one shoulder. Their eyes meet across 50 feet of marble floor, and 10 years of buried memories detonate in Marshall's chest like a grenade. Marshall, barely audible. Lisa? But she's already turning away, herding the 3 children toward the exit. Gray looks back over his shoulder, and the smirk on his face is Marshall's own signature expression, the one he wears right before he destroys someone's life. Gray, see you soon, father. Scene transition, Marshall's private car, 30 minutes later. Marshall sits in the back of his armored Mercedes, his head of security nervously watching him in the rearview mirror. Security chief, boss, should we track them? Marshall doesn't respond. He's staring at his phone, at a single text message from an unknown number. 10 years ago, you made a choice. Now your children are making one for you. LS. Attached is a photo, Lisa, pregnant, standing alone in a hospital hallway. The timestamp reads, March 2015. Marshall's hands shake. He crushes the phone in his fist. Scene, Selena's luxury apartment. That evening, Marshall's wife, Selena, stands by the floor-to-ceiling windows of her penthouse, a glass of wine in her manicured hand. Her phone buzzes. She glances at the screen, surveillance footage from the airport. Selena watches Gray, Darwin, and Zella boarding a black SUV with Lisa. Selena's expression never changes. She simply presses a number on speed dial. Selena, voice like honey-coated venom, find out everything about the woman and the children. I want names, addresses, blood types, and vulnerabilities. And do it quietly. She ends the call and takes a sip of wine, her reflection in the window showing the faintest hint of a deadly smile. Selena, to herself, so. Marshall has a past. How inconvenient. Scene, Lisa's safe house, night. The children are sitting around a dining table, laptops and tablets spread before them like battle plans. Gray, typing rapidly. I've confirmed it. Marshall Shepard. Current head of the Shepard Syndicate. Net worth, classified, but estimated at $12 billion. Known associates: Selena Shepherd, wife of 7 years. No known children. Darwin, until now. Zella, looking worried. Mommy, was that really our daddy? He looked scary. Lisa sits down, pulling Zella onto her lap. Her eyes are haunted. Lisa, yes, baby. That was your father. And yes, he's very scary. Which is exactly why I kept you away from him. Gray, coldly you kept us away from him. But you didn't ask if we wanted to be kept away. Lisa, voice breaking. Gray, you don't understand. Your father is Gray, the man who let you be destroyed 10 years ago. I know. I've read every file, every police report, every syndicate document. I know what Selena did. I know what the syndicate did. And I know he did nothing to stop it. Lisa closes her eyes, a single tear sliding down her cheek. Darwin, gently, but now we're here, Mom. And we're not going anywhere. We're going to make him see the truth. Zella, are we bad people for wanting to meet our daddy? Lisa, gathering all 3 children close. No, my loves. You're not bad. You're just braver than I ever was. Scene, Marshall's penthouse, same night. Marshall stands in his private study, the jade pendant from the airport clenched in his fist. He's staring at a locked drawer in his desk, the one he hasn't opened in 10 years. Finally, he unlocks it. Inside, a photograph of Lisa, young and smiling, taken the night they met. A handwritten note in her handwriting: Marshall, some debts can't be paid with money. L. And a second jade pendant, identical to the one Gray dropped. Marshall's voice cracks. What have I done? His phone rings. It's his head of security. Security chief, boss, we have intel. The woman's name is Lisa Serna. Formerly Lisa Cohn before marriage. She has 3 children, Gray, age 10, Darwin, age 9, Zella, age 8. They've been living in California under assumed names until 3 weeks ago. Marshall, DNA. I want DNA confirmation within 24 hours. Discreet. No one finds out. Security chief, understood. But boss. Selena's people are already asking questions. Marshall's expression hardens into something lethal. Marshall, then make sure they don't get answers. The screen splits into 4 perspectives. Marshall, staring at Lisa's photograph, his empire crumbling around him. Lisa, holding her children, knowing the war has just begun. Gray, Darwin, and Zella, preparing their next move with the precision of trained soldiers. Selena, making a phone call that will set everything in motion. I don't care how you do it. Those children cannot exist. The voiceover echoes. 10 years ago, a ruthless man made a choice. Today, 3 children will make him pay for it. In a world built on blood and betrayal, family is the most dangerous weapon of all. Will the Mafia boss forsake his family and kids? Before we continue, hit subscribe, like this video, and tell me in the comments where in the world you're watching from. I believe this story found you today for a reason. Marshall stood frozen in the center of his study, the jade pendant still burning in his palm like a brand. But it wasn't the pendant that paralyzed him, it was the memory of Lisa's eyes at the airport, watching him with a decade's worth of accusation and something far more devastating, pity. He poured himself 3 fingers of whiskey, his hand steady despite the storm raging in his chest. The last time he'd seen those eyes, they'd been pleading with him to believe her, to choose her over the syndicate's verdict. He'd watched her being dragged away by his own men, her screams echoing in the marble halls of the compound. He'd told himself it was mercy, letting her live in exile rather than facing the traditional punishment for traitors. 3 children. The whiskey glass shattered against the wall. Marshall? Selena's voice drifted from the doorway, smooth as silk over razor wire. She wore a crimson dress that matched her lipstick, her expression carefully neutral. The security chief mentioned an incident at the airport. Some woman with children? Marshall didn't turn. It's handled. Is it? Selena crossed to the bar, her heels clicking like a countdown. Because I've never seen you break baccarat crystal over something that's handled. Drop it, Selena. She poured herself wine, studying his reflection in the window. These children, they looked remarkably like you in the surveillance footage. Almost like. I said drop it. Selena's smile never reached her eyes. She pulled out her phone, typing a message with her perfectly manicured nails. The recipient was simply labeled cleaner. The message read, 3 loose ends. Children. Make it look accidental. Budget, unlimited. She hit send, then raised her glass to Marshall's rigid back. Of course, darling. Whatever you say. Marshall woke to the sound of silence, the kind that screamed danger to a man who'd survived 2 decades in the underworld. His penthouse security system should have been humming with white noise, the ambient buzz of $10 million worth of surveillance technology. Instead, nothing. He reached for the gun under his pillow, moving with predatory stillness through the darkness. Every pressure sensor, every motion detector, every biometric lock in this fortress had cost more than most people earned in a lifetime. Nothing human could breach it. The study door stood open. He never left it open. Marshall's finger tightened on the trigger as he swept the room. Empty. But on his desk, positioned exactly where the morning light would hit it first, sat a jade pendant identical to the one Gray had dropped. Beside it, a handwritten note in careful, adult script: some debts are paid in blood, others in truth. His blood turned to ice. Marshall checked the security footage, rewinding through the night. At 3:47 a.m., a shadow no larger than a child slipped past every failsafe like smoke through a screen. Darwin. The quiet one. Moving with the precision of a trained operative, dismantling Marshall's empire of security without tripping a single alarm. Marshall's hands trembled as he picked up the pendant. It was warm, as if recently worn against skin. The engraving inside made his vision blur, LS, forever intertwined with MS. 10 years ago, he'd given Lisa its twin on the night that changed everything. She'd laughed, called it dramatic, kissed him until he forgot his own name. He remembered sliding it around her neck, whispering promises he'd later break. The pendant clattered onto the desk. A 9-year-old had just proven Marshall Shepard wasn't untouchable. And that terrified him far more than any rival ever had. Marshall summoned Dr. Kwan to his private office at 4 a.m., the kind of hour when secrets felt safer. The doctor had been on the syndicate payroll for 15 years, performing DNA tests, patching bullet wounds, and asking no questions. Discretion was his religion. I need complete confidentiality, Marshall said, sliding 3 samples across the desk, strands of hair collected from his study where Darwin had infiltrated, and his own blood drawn moments before. No records. No digital trail. Results delivered to me personally. Dr. Kwan nodded, his weathered face impassive. 72 hours. 24. It will be done, boss. But 24 hours came and went. Then 48. On the 3rd day, Marshall's calls went unanswered. Dr. Kwan's clinic stood empty, the lab equipment still humming, but the doctor himself vanished like morning mist. Marshall found him 6 hours later in a tea house in Gangnam, sitting across from Elder Park, one of the original founding members of the Shepard Syndicate, a man whose loyalty Marshall had never questioned. Until now. The Elder didn't flinch when Marshall slid into the booth, his presence darkening the room like a storm cloud. Dr. Kwan looked ready to vomit. Where are my results? Marshall's voice could have cut glass. Elder Park sipped his tea with maddeningly calm deliberation. I have them. Then why am I here instead of reading them in my office? The Elder produced a sealed envelope from his jacket, but didn't hand it over. Because I remember Lisa Serna. I remember what she was to you before we made you choose between love and legacy. His ancient eyes held no mercy. These children, if they are yours, represent chaos. Division. Weakness in the eyes of our enemies. Marshall's jaw clenched. Give me the envelope. The syndicate has rules older than both of us, Marshall. Loose ends are always cut, boss. Always. Elder Park finally slid the envelope across the table. The question is, will you cut them yourself, or will you force us to do it for you? Marshall tore open the envelope with savage precision. 3 paternity tests. 3 identical results, 99.9% probability of biological parentage. His children. His blood. The words on the page blurred his fury and something dangerously close to fear warred in his chest. He'd built an empire on ruthless pragmatism, eliminating threats without hesitation. But these weren't threats, they were Gray's calculating eyes, Darwin's impossible brilliance, Zella's innocent question at the airport. They were his. You intercept my orders again, Marshall said, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper, and loyalty won't save you. Elder Park's expression never changed. And if these children destroy everything we've built? Will blood save them? Marshall stood, pocketing the results. He had no answer, because for the first time in his life, he didn't know which he valued more, his empire or his family. Marshall sat alone in his study, the paternity results burning a hole in his pocket. He poured another drink he wouldn't taste, and the memories he'd buried for 10 years clawed their way to the surface like corpses from shallow graves. 10 years ago. The Syndicate War Room. Selena had entered like an angel of death, her face carefully composed in manufactured concern. Marshall, I'm sorry. I know how much she meant to you. She'd placed a file on the table, photographs spilling out, Lisa meeting with known rivals, encrypted communications, wire transfers to offshore accounts belonging to the Kozlov family. The evidence had been damning. Perfect. Too perfect. This has to be a mistake, Marshall had said, his voice hollow even to his own ears. Elder Park had been there too, younger then but no less ruthless. The Kozlovs paid her $2 million, Marshall. She's been feeding them intelligence for 6 months. Marshall remembered staring at a photograph of Lisa in a hotel lobby, shaking hands with Viktor Kozlov. The timestamp, the location, the money trail, all irrefutable. She's carrying my child, he'd whispered. Selena had placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Which is why you must act quickly. Show mercy while you still can. Exile instead of execution. For the baby's sake. He'd been 28, already drowning in syndicate politics, desperate to prove himself worthy of leadership. Love or legacy? The choice had felt impossible. He'd chosen wrong. Marshall downed the whiskey, the memory playing like a horror film he couldn't stop. He saw himself in the holding cell, Lisa's face streaked with tears, her hands cradling her barely visible pregnancy. Marshall, please. I didn't do this. You know me. You know. I know the evidence, he'd said, his voice dead. I know what you are. What we are, she'd corrected, her hand on her stomach. What about our baby? He'd forced himself to turn away. You'll be escorted to the airport. Take the money, disappear, and never come back. If you do, I can't protect you. Protect me? Lisa's laugh had been broken glass. You're destroying me. The worst part, the part that still woke him screaming, was the moment she'd looked at him with those eyes. Not anger. Not hatred. Just profound, devastating disappointment. You're not who I thought you were, she'd whispered. Marshall returned to the present, his reflection in the window showing a man he barely recognized. He pulled out his phone, scrolling to a number he'd kept for 10 years but never called. Lisa's last known contact, updated quarterly by his private investigators. His finger hovered over the dial button. 3 children. His children. He'd chosen the syndicate over love once. They'd grown up without a father because he'd been too much of a coward to question the evidence, too desperate to prove his loyalty to men who saw his heart as a liability. Marshall finally understood. He hadn't protected Lisa 10 years ago. He'd destroyed her. And Selena, beautiful, calculating Selena, had handed him the weapon. What plan does Selena have this time? Let's keep watching. Before we continue, hit subscribe, like this video, and tell me in the comments where in the world you're watching from. I believe this story found you today for a reason. Marshall's phone rang at 2 p.m. with a video call from an unknown number. The screen showed Zella, zip-tied to a chair in what looked like an abandoned warehouse, two of Selena's most trusted enforcers flanking her small frame. The girl looked terrified, tears streaming down her cheeks. Marshall's world stopped. "We have your daughter," the lead enforcer said off-screen. "Mrs. Shepard says to consider this a message about Legacy Anne." His blood turned to ice, then to fire. "If you touch her." "Daddy?" Zella's voice was small, broken. "I'm scared." Marshall was already moving, barking orders to his security team, rage replacing the oxygen in his lungs. His daughter. They'd taken his daughter. The fear that gripped him was primal, absolute. Nothing in his brutal career had prepared him for this particular terror. He was coordinating the assault team when his phone buzzed again. Another video, this time from Zella's perspective. What he saw made him freeze mid-command. Zella sat in the same chair, but the tears had vanished like they'd never existed. Her expression was unnervingly calm, almost clinical. The enforcers stood in the exact same positions, but something fundamental had shifted. "Mr. Kim," Zella said conversationally, addressing the lead enforcer, "Selena promised you a promotion 3 years ago after you eliminated her rival in Busan. Instead, she gave it to her nephew. Do you remember?" The enforcer's jaw tightened. "How do you?" "And Mr. Choi," Zella continued, turning to the second man, "your daughter needs surgery. Selena knows. She has the money. But she told you family matters weren't syndicate concerns." The 8-year-old's eyes were ancient. "Except when it's her family, right?" "Kid, shut up. I'm not asking you to betray her," Zella said, her voice taking on a hypnotic quality that eerily mirrored Marshall's own negotiating tone. "I'm just pointing out that loyalty should flow both ways. My father doesn't know you exist. But I do. I know everything about you." She leaned forward, still zip-tied but somehow completely in control. "Selena ordered you to kill a child today. Does that sit well with you, Mr. Kim? You have a daughter too. She's 6. Her name is Sujin." The enforcer's face went white. "Here's my offer," Zella said. "Cut these ties. Drive me back to my mother. And I'll make sure my father knows your names, for the right reasons." Marshall watched, transfixed with horror and something uncomfortably close to pride, as his 8-year-old daughter dismantled 2 hardened killers with nothing but words. The zip ties fell away. Mr. Kim's hands were shaking. "Your father," the enforcer managed. "He's really the Reaper?" Zella smiled, and it was Marshall's own dangerous smile reflected in miniature. "Yes. And now you work for him. Not her." The video ended. Marshall stood in his office, the assault team waiting for orders, staring at his phone. His daughter, his baby girl, had just converted his wife's assassins into her own protection detail through pure psychological warfare. He didn't know whether to be terrified or impressed. Both, he realized. Marshall was still processing Zella's impossible rescue when every screen in his penthouse flickered and died. His phone. His security monitors. The digital stock tickers displaying real-time syndicate assets. Everything went black for exactly 3 seconds. When they came back online, a single image filled every display, Grace's face, rendered in cold digital precision against a background of cascading code. "Hello, Father." The 10-year-old's voice emanated from every speaker in the penthouse simultaneously. "We need to talk about Mother." Marshall's security chief burst through the door. Boss, we've been hit. Someone's locked us out of. He stopped, seeing Gray's face replicated across 20 screens. Leave us, Marshall said quietly. Alone, he faced his son's digital ghost. What do you want? Justice. Gray's fingers moved across an invisible keyboard. On the screens, financial statements began scrolling. Offshore accounts, shell corporations, laundered money flowing through a dozen countries. Marshall's entire shadow empire laid bare. I've frozen $4.7 billion in syndicate assets. The Cayman accounts. The Singapore holdings. The Vienna art collection you use for currency smuggling. Marshall's jaw clenched. Impossible. Those accounts require quantum encryption and biometric verification? Yes. I broke both. It took me 6 hours. Gray's expression was pure shepherd calculation. I could have transferred the money. I could have exposed your network to Interpol. I did neither. Do you know why? Enlighten me. Because you're my father. And despite everything, I want to give you a chance to do the right thing. Marshall poured a drink with hands that didn't shake, refusing to show weakness even to a screen. The right thing according to a 10-year-old? The right thing according to someone who spent his entire life watching his mother cry herself to sleep. Gray's voice cracked slightly, the first sign of the child beneath the prodigy. You destroyed her 10 years ago based on lies. Selena's lies. I have proof, communications, financial records, witness testimony from the actual traitor she framed mother with. On screen, documents appeared. Marshall recognized Selena's private email, messages to Viktor Kozlov, photoshopped images with timestamps that didn't match satellite weather data. The fabrication was masterful. He'd never suspected because he'd never looked. My demand is simple, Gray continued. Tomorrow, you will announce to the syndicate that Lisa Serna was falsely accused. You will declare her untouchable. No one harms her without answering to you. You will acknowledge us publicly as your children. And if I refuse? Then at midnight, every law enforcement agency in 12 countries receives your complete financial records. The Shepherd Syndicate ends. Your empire burns. Gray leaned closer to his camera. But more importantly, you'll prove Mother was right about you, that you're a man who chooses power over family. Again. The screens went dark, leaving Marshall alone with his reflection and a choice that felt like déjà vu. His son had just held a gun to his empire's head. And Marshall had never been more furious, or more proud. Will you choose power over family and love? Let me know in the comments section. Before we continue, hit subscribe, like this video, and tell me in the comments where in the world you're watching from. I believe this story found you today for a reason. Marshall found Selena in their bedroom, packing designer luggage with methodical precision. She didn't look up when he entered, didn't flinch when he locked the door behind him. Going somewhere? His voice was arctic. Monte Carlo. The spring collection shows start next week. She folded a silk blouse with practiced care. Unless you have other plans for me? Marshall threw Gray's evidence file onto the bed. Photographs, emails, financial records, 10 years of calculated deception spilling across white Egyptian cotton. You framed her. Every piece of evidence, every witness, every transaction, you orchestrated it all. Selena finally looked at him, and her composure was more chilling than any reaction. Yes. The simple admission hit harder than a denial. Why? Because you loved her. Selena set down the blouse, her movements glacial. You looked at that woman like she was salvation, like she could save you from what you were becoming. And I couldn't allow that. So you destroyed her life. Separated me from my children. Your children? Selena's laugh was broken glass. Marshall, you didn't even know she was pregnant when you exiled her. I did. I saw the test results in her apartment before I planted the evidence. The world tilted. You knew. I knew, and I watched you break her heart anyway. Selena crossed to the window, her reflection ghost-like in the glass. Do you want to know the real secret, darling? The one that will haunt you more than everything else? Marshall's hands clenched into fists. The night you spent with Lisa, the night those children were conceived, wasn't an accident. Selena turned, her eyes holding a decade of poisonous satisfaction. I arranged it. I made sure you were both at that hotel. I orchestrated your random encounter because I needed you compromised, vulnerable. I needed leverage. What are you talking about? You were getting too powerful, too independent. The other families were afraid you'd break away from the syndicate entirely if you stayed with her. Selena's smile was serpentine. So I gave them a solution: create the perfect scandal, force you to choose loyalty over love, and bind you to the syndicate through guilt and marriage. To me. Marshall felt sick. You used Lisa as bait. I used you both as pawns. And you played your part beautifully. She stepped closer, fearless even now. I gave you those children, Marshall. That night, that love, those 3 brilliant little heirs, I orchestrated all of it. And then I took it away. His hand was around her throat before conscious thought, slamming her against the wall. Selena didn't struggle, just smiled through her bruising windpipe. Go ahead, she whispered. But kill me, and the syndicate will demand your children's blood. Elder Park already knows. They've known for days. Marshall released her, stepping back as the full scope of his manipulation crystallized. He'd been a puppet for 10 years, dancing on strings Selena wove. Get out, he said hoarsely. Get out before I forget you're not worth becoming a monster for. Selena grabbed her luggage, pausing at the door. You already are a monster, Marshall. I just pointed you in the right direction. The door closed with a soft click, leaving him alone with the crushing weight of everything he'd lost, everyone he'd failed, and the dawning realization that his entire adult life had been someone else's design. The neutral ground was a warehouse in Incheon's industrial district, supposedly sacred territory where syndicate business could be conducted without bloodshed. Marshall had chosen it specifically because Lisa refused to meet him anywhere he controlled. She stood across from him now, the children flanking her like a defensive perimeter. Gray's hand rested inside his jacket. Darwin's eyes tracked every shadow. Even Zella held herself with coiled readiness. You wanted to talk, Lisa said coldly. Talk. Marshall opened his mouth just as the skylight exploded inward. Glass rained down like deadly snow. 6 figures in tactical gear rappelled through the opening, automatic weapons already firing. Marshall dove, pulling Lisa down as bullets chewed through concrete where she'd been standing. Kozlov family. Gray shouted, somehow identifying the attackers instantly. Selena sold us out. Darwin was already moving, his photographic memory recalling the warehouse blueprint Marshall had briefly studied days ago. Service exit, northeast corner, 40 meters. Marshall drew his weapon, returning fire with practiced precision. 2 attackers dropped. But more were breaching the main entrance, at least a dozen armed men pouring in like a flood. Stay behind me. Marshall barked at the children. Like hell, Gray snarled, producing a device from his jacket. He pressed a button and half the warehouse lights exploded, plunging them into chaotic darkness. Darwin, East Corridor. Zella, stay with Mom. They moved like a tactical unit that had trained together for years instead of strangers bound by blood. Marshall found himself covering Gray's advance while his 10-year-old son disabled security cameras with some kind of electromagnetic pulse device. An attacker emerged from the shadows. Marshall fired twice, center mass, clean kills. He turned to find Darwin already dragging Lisa toward the exit, the 9-year-old small frame somehow supporting his mother's weight with determination that bordered on superhuman. Dad, 6 o'clock. Gray's warning came half a second before Marshall felt the bullet graze his shoulder. Dad. The word hit harder than the gunshot. Marshall spun and dropped the shooter, then grabbed Gray by the collar, pulling him into cover. "You don't call me that and then stand in the open like an idiot. You don't get to parent me in the middle of a firefight." Gray shot back, but his hands were shaking. More gunfire. Marshall counted ammunition, 6 rounds left. 15 hostiles still standing. The math was bad. Zella's voice cut through the chaos. "Mom, the propane tanks." "Darwin, can you shoot from here?" Lisa's eyes widened with understanding. "Baby, no, it's too dangerous." But Darwin was already lining up the shot with Marshall's spare weapon, his photographic memory calculating trajectory, wind resistance, and explosive radius. "Everyone down. Now." The bullet struck true. The resulting explosion turned night into day, consumed half the attacking force, and blew out the warehouse's north wall. In the ringing silence that followed, Marshall found himself on the ground with his family scattered around him, alive, breathing, covered in dust and blood but intact. Gray met his eyes across the rubble. "Still think we're too young to know who you are?" Marshall almost laughed. "Almost. No. I think I'm too late to know who you are." "Then start learning," Lisa said, helping Zella to her feet. "Because like it or not, Shepard, we're all in this together now." Sirens wailed in the distance. Marshall stood, every protective instinct he'd buried for 10 years roaring to life. "We move. Now. My safe house in Gangnam, it's fortified, supplied. We regroup there." For the first time, no one argued. His family followed him into the night, and Marshall realized something that should have terrified him but instead felt like coming home. He would burn his entire empire to ash before he let anyone hurt them again. Marshall stood before the assembled syndicate elders in the war room where, 10 years ago, he'd condemned Lisa to exile. But today, he was the one on trial. "You've lost your mind," Elder Park said, his voice shaking with rage. "Legitimize the operation? Abandon our traditional revenue streams? This empire was built on blood, fear, and corruption," Marshall finished coldly. "I know. I built most of it." He placed both hands on the table, leaning forward with lethal intent. "And now I'm tearing it down." The room erupted in protests. Marshall let them rage for exactly 30 seconds before Gray's virus activated, freezing every elder's personal accounts simultaneously. The silence was instantaneous. "My son did that," Marshall said quietly. "In 6 seconds. You're dinosaurs pretending you still rule the world while children with laptops make you extinct." He straightened, and something fundamental had shifted in his posture, less predator, more protector. "I'm taking the syndicate legitimate. Real estate, technology, security consultation. Anyone who wants to stay, you follow my rules. Anyone who doesn't." He let the implication hang. Elder Park stood, trembling with fury. "This is about that woman. You're destroying everything for my family." The words came easily now, no longer a weakness but a declaration of war. "Yes. And if you threaten them again, being erased from your bank accounts will be the kindest thing that happens to you." 3 hours later, Marshall found Lisa on the penthouse balcony, Soul's light stretching endlessly below. The children were asleep inside, Gray and Darwin sprawled across one couch, Zella curled in a chair. "It's done," he said. "The syndicate is finished. What comes next will be legal, legitimate. Clean." Lisa didn't turn. "And you think that erases 10 years? No." Marshall pulled out a small box, his hands unsteady for the first time since he'd held a weapon. "But maybe it's a start." Inside was a simple platinum band, no ostentation, no blood diamonds, just a promise. "I chose wrong once," he said, his voice breaking on the confession. "I chose power over you, the syndicate over our family. I let them make me a monster, and you paid the price." He knelt, and the Reaper became just a man. "I can't undo what I did. But I can spend the rest of my life being the father our children deserve, the man you fell in love with before I buried him under duty and fear." Lisa finally looked at him, tears streaming down her face. "Marshall, I don't deserve you. I don't deserve them. But if you'll let me, I'll spend every day proving I can be." She took the ring with shaking hands. "You hurt me. You destroyed me. I know. And it will take years, maybe forever, for me to trust you again. I know." Lisa slipped the ring on her finger. "Then you'd better start now." Marshall pulled her close, and for the first time in 10 years, he felt something other than emptiness. Through the window, he saw Gray watching them, a small smile on his calculating face before the boy turned away. The Shepherd Syndicate was dead. But the Shepherd family was just beginning. Will you choose money, power, and then choose to betray over your home? Let me know in the comments section, and if you need the second episode, please like, comment and subscribe. Thank you.